Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to our ongoing Operation Freedom Health series with Dr. Peter Glidden, who's one of the top naturopathic physicians, not just in our country, not just on our continent, but the world. You know, we've started this series, well over 2.5 years ago. And if you go in our archives at davejanda.com or operationfreedomhealth.com or even on YouTube, surprising, they suppress the view counts, but they do have left them up. Peter and I have gone through a number of different body systems, a number of different issues as it relates to empowering you and your health and welfare. Now, the series has been well accepted and very supported by you, our listening audience. But there is another entity, a group of entities that aren't very supportive. Big pharma, big medicine, like the AMA, big insurance, big hospitals, big government despise this series because this series is focused on empowering you and harnessing the power of your own body with the appropriate nutrients to provide health and wellness and safety, and a more secure health future. Now, all those other entities despise us because they want you to believe the only way you can be healthy and maintain your health, or if you get ill to try to gain back or manage your condition, is with utilizing them. Their pharmaceuticals, their docs, their insurance companies, the government bureaucrats and the system that they have devolved, it's all about them, not about you. And we, in this series, and what we do at OperationFreedomHealth.com, is focused on empowering you. Now, I mentioned Dr. Peter Glidden being one of the top naturopathic physicians in the world. In addition to that, he's an outstanding researcher. He's an outstanding author. 2 books should be the foundation of your medical library. They are at my home. Everybody is sick, and I know why. An Attempt to Cure with Holistic Medicine. You can obtain them at Amazon and also Dr. Glidden's site, drglidden.com, which also has a wealth of information for your health care well-being. It's my honor to welcome back my friend, Dr. Peter Glidden. Pete, welcome back to the Operation Freedom Health platform and davejanda.com.
Present and ready, sir.
Okay, so today, let's tackle, by listener request, and we did this a bit in the past, but let's hit it a little bit harder today. Diabetes, type 1, type 2, what they are, what it's about, and how they can be addressed from a nutritional standpoint.
Well, from the proper perspective, everything makes sense. And the coronavirus debacle that's evolved over the last couple of years, which has put a spotlight on the unbelievable dysfunction of conventional medicine, is the tip of the iceberg. Because, in addition to coronavirus, we've got chronic disease. Mm-hmm. We've got type 2 diabetes, we've got arthritis, we've got heart disease, we've got arthritis, we've got Alzheimer's, we've got autism, we've got everything. Mm-hmm. Chronic diseases are increasing in incidence. Life expectancy is decreasing. The leading cause of death in the United States, depending on whose statistics you believe, are pharmaceutical treatments, MD-directed medical treatments. The leading cause of death, and hands down, no matter how you crunch the numbers, the leading cause of bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. So what does all of this mean from the proper perspective? Well, diabetes spells it out plainly. Mm-hmm. Allopathic medicine, which is fantastic for surgery when it's necessary, trauma care, emergency medicine, is horrible for everything else. And it's about time we all just took our heads out of the sand and acknowledged that. Mm-hmm. While conventional medicine has maintained an iron grip on the and has monopolized the medical marketplace since 1912. Here's what's happened with diabetes. There are more than 34 million Americans that have a diagnosis of diabetes. 88 million Americans have what's referred to as prediabetes. 1 in 7 healthcare dollars is spent on something to do with the blood sugar issue, and it's getting worse every year. It's not getting better, and wait for it. Here's what the statistics say: the staggering costs of diabetes. This is from the American Diabetes Association. The staggering costs, see how that's framed, the costs of diabetes, $327 billion a year. A more proper headline would be, however, conventional medicine profits $327 billion a year while managing a condition that they have no idea what caused it and no idea how to cure it. That should be the headline, because the last time I looked, when somebody's spending money, somebody's collecting money. But the headlines are never like that.
So, Pete, let's hit do a couple definitional terms for all of us, and then let's take it about, well, what can be done from a nutritional side of the equation.
So basically, all right, it's good. So there's type 1 diabetes, which is insulin-dependent diabetes, which means in order for you to stay alive, you need injectable insulin because your body has lost the ability to make insulin. And then there's type 2 diabetes, which is also sometimes referred to as metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance syndrome. There's a lot of variations on this theme, where your body can make insulin, but the insulin can't connect to the cells appropriately and allow the sugar to enter into the cell. That's type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is caused by a facultative breakdown in an organ in the body called the pancreas. The pancreas is the part of the body that we're aware of so far which manufactures insulin. So here's how it goes. You eat something that's got sugar in it, or that your body turns into sugar, like a carbohydrate turns it into sugar. And now somehow, magically, and nobody knows what this mechanism is, interestingly, when there's sugar in the blood, the pancreas is stimulated to secrete insulin into the blood. Nobody knows how that happens, but it does. So now we've got sugar in the blood, we get insulin in the blood. Well, why? Well, here's why. Insulin floats through the blood, and the job of the sugar is to get inside the cell. It's like fuel, gasoline, going from the fuel tank through a fuel line to get inside the engine. And in this metaphor, the fuel line would be your bloodstream, and the engine would be the cell. And there are billions of cells in our bodies, and every single one of them needs sugar to do stuff. Sugar is the gasoline of the body. It's not the Antichrist. Your body loves sugar. Your body needs sugar. Your DNA is made from sugar. Isn't that interesting? So we got sugar in the blood, and now we've got insulin in the blood. Insulin binds to a receptor site on a cell wall, and it sends a signal inside the cell. And the signal tells the cell to create and open a sugar door on the side of the cell. It's almost like magic. The body does that. Little door gets created and opened on the outside of the cell, and the sugar that's in the blood goes in through the door and is metabolized by the cell. It's a beautiful thing. It's like somebody ringing the doorbell on your front doorbell, and when they press the doorbell, the kitchen door opens to let the groceries in, right? It's kind of what happens.
Great analogy.
This needs insulin, right? In order for this to happen, you need insulin. Insulin rings the bell. Now, in type 1 diabetes, the pancreas has lost the ability to make insulin. Can't do it. So when that happens, sugar is not going to get inside the cell, and you're going to die. And you're going to die miserably. So it's going to be a horrible death. It's going to be bad because your body needs sugar to work. Your heart will stop. Your brain will stop. Everything stops. It's a slippery slide into death. It's horrible. So that's why insulin, pharmaceutical insulin, is really one of my, is in the world of pharmaceuticals, it's one of the things that I say, well, thank God for insulin.
Right.
Because injectable insulin saves millions of people's lives who would die otherwise because they don't have enough insulin. But nobody asks the question. Maybe it's because of, it would cut into insulin sales.
Right.
Why does the pancreas stop creating insulin in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows. And when conventional medicine doesn't know the answer to something, the scapegoat is, it's either an autoimmune disease or it's genetic.
That's true.
Right?
Right. No. It's either genetic or autoimmune. Autoimmune where your own body's attacking its cells, and that's why it won't produce in this case, insulin. Or there's something in your genome, in your DNA that says, pancreas, you're not going to produce insulin. That's it.
And because most people are in the United States now aren't any smarter than a fifth grader. When most people in the
hey, come on now. Leave Kamala Harris talking about Ukraine and Russia and all that stuff out of this. Go ahead. Yeah. Big country goes after a small country. That's wrong. Okay. Sorry.
Which was a bigger country, by the way? Was it the United States or Iraq?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
But when people hear gene or genetics, they kind of cower in intellectual inferiority, and then they will believe whatever else comes after that.
Right.
Because it seems so far above their pay grades, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, blaming everything on genes is like blaming tornadoes on sunlight.
Well, and it also says there's nothing you can do about it, right?
Right.
The deck doesn't have any face cards. Bad luck for you. There's nothing you can do. Right?
And it's not the doctor's fault.
Right. It's
your fault.
Yeah, right.
You're the one with the bad gene.
And there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about it. Okay. Right.
Now, in naturopathic land, which is a good land to walk around in, let me tell you, there's a theory, there's always been a theory, I've known about this theory for 30 years, that one of the operative mechanisms behind the destruction of the cells in the pancreas that make insulin, they're called the islets of Langerhans cells, is milk, which is really interesting. And here's how the theory goes. If you have an allergy to milk, and it's not an immediate hypersensitivity allergy where, the kid eats the peanut and their throat swells up and they die unless they have the EpiPen. It's not that type of an allergic reaction. It's called a delayed hypersensitivity reaction. So if you have an allergy to milk, that means a delayed hypersensitivity reaction. When you drink, this is cow's milk, by the way, when you drink cow's milk, your immune system creates antibodies against the milk protein and then tries to destroy the milk molecule. Well, interestingly enough, the cells in the pancreas, on the outside of the cell, they have a protein coat that resembles the milk molecule. So you have an allergy to milk, you drink milk, your body makes antibodies to kill the milk, and the antibodies kill the pancreas cells also because it was mistaken identity, collateral damage. That theory should have been run down because I've known about it for 30 years, but it hasn't been run down because we don't have a free medical market. The medical market is dominated by the pharmaceutical industry, and it's a much better business model to keep people sick than to cure disease.
Well, plus the dairy industry wouldn't be happy about that either, which is another big lobbyist, right?
And interestingly enough, when the thought process goes when milk becomes ultra pasteurized, it's the pasteurization process
that does it.
That makes that elicits the immune response. It's not whole raw milk; it's pasteurized milk. So again, you're right. The milk industry isn't going to like that. Nobody's going to like that. It's not in the interests of the medical industrial complex. So nonetheless, while we've been inside of a medical monopoly, type 1 diabetes, your body can't manufacture insulin. It's getting worse and worse every year, and people's legs fall off, people's feet fall off, right? They got to get amputated. And by the way, the reason that happens is because of the damage that's done to the cells by insulin. It's an insulin side effect that damages the cells. So
with someone with type 1 diabetes, is there anything nutritionally? So let's say people say, well, okay, I'll stay away from milk products, dairy products,
Yep.
Okay, let's say folks say, okay, I'm going to do that. Is there anything else they can do if they have type 1 diabetes?
Yeah. So there's nothing that I'm aware of that is going to make the pancreas cells come back to life and start making insulin. I'm sure that there's a way to do that, but nobody knows what it is.
Okay.
And there's no research that goes there.
Okay.
But remember, there's insulin in the body because you're injecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's exogenous insulin made by, Pfizer. Mm-hmm. And the insulin still has to go to work in the body. It still has to get things done. And so in order to optimize the ability of insulin to ring that doorbell and get its job done, there's two things that you can use to facilitate that process. Number one is omega-3 essential fatty acids.
Okay.
Because the walls of the cell, that the insulin binds to, and that the sugar door is made on and opens, is made from omega-3 essential fats. It's made from fatty acids. So when you give the body omega-3 essential fatty acids, it makes the walls of the cell healthy. And healthier cell walls have a greater affinity to accept insulin and to receive the signal and then to open the sugar door. It just makes sense, right?
Right.
Number one. Number two, chromium, the mineral chromium, is necessary for the signal when the insulin binds. The signal goes through the cell. So, you got to make the sugar door, open the sugar door. That signal demands the presence of the mineral chromium. So if you don't have enough chromium,
you've got trouble.
You're in trouble. And that's exactly what we do for type 2 diabetes. It's the same thing. Because with type 2 diabetes, your body makes insulin.
It's just not effective.
It sticks to the wall, but the signal inside the cell is cut off because of a deficiency in chromium. Right? One of my, I don't know, famous isn't the right word. One of my most rewarding treatments of type 1 diabetes was with a teenager. I think the kid was 15 years old when he first came to my office. He had type 1 diabetes. He was injecting a lot of insulin every day just to, keep himself alive. And after 3 weeks, I think, on my program, all medical nutrition, that's all we did. We didn't do anything else, just medical nutrition. He was able to reduce his insulin intake by 75%.
Now, what did you do to accomplish that?
We did the foundation pack.
Okay.
90 essential nutrients.
Okay. And for folks that are wondering what's in that, and you can break it down, but it's available on OperationFreedomHealth.com. Go ahead.
Gives you 100% of the nutrients your body needs to function optimally. And because it's a symphony in the body, you don't just need 2 things. As a matter of fact, you need 90 things. And maybe next year we'll discover 5 more. But 90 essential nutrients. And in addition to that, we gave him extra chromium.
Okay.
And extra omega-3s. Because the foundation pack is for maintenance. Right? We got to have those bases covered. But when we have somebody with an active problem like type 1 diabetes, you got to do extra than just the foundation. So in his case, we gave him extra omega-3s and a supplement called Sweeties that has chromium and some other things in it to facilitate sugar metabolism. And he was able to reduce his insulin by 75%. And the icing on the cake of this story is he was so blown away by this. He's now in naturopathic medical school.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, it was really great. So that's all that we do. And by the way, for type 1 insulin-dependent diabetics, their life is like this. Their energy goes like this all day long because they got to inject insulin, and then they got to manage how many calories they're going to eat, and then they got to manage their exercise level and how much fat they burn. It's flipping complicated. And when the body is trying to do that with limited resources,
it gets overwhelmed.
Not enough nutrients, it goes like this.
Bigger.
So when you have the nutrients there and you need insulin, it's more like this.
Right. Smooth it out.
And over time, you need much less insulin. which not only is really good on your pocketbook, but it's also good on your metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
Because insulin has some nasty, exogenous insulin, injectable insulin has some nasty side effects. And so the less you can take of that stuff into your body, the better it is. So,
and you've always pushed the diet side of this too, Pete. And you have the video. It's free. It's on our homepage of OperationFreedomHealth.com about the 12 bad foods.
This is important because it's not what you swallow, it's what you absorb.
Right.
I mean, if you swallow this much and you only absorb this much, then what the heck?
Right.
Right?
Right.
We're spitting into the wind. So it would then therefore be prudent to learn to avoid foods which are hurting your digestive tract.
That's right.
And making it hard for your body to absorb things, whether it's the nutrients that are in the food or the nutrients that are in your nutritional supplements. You need to maximize your absorption.
Right.
And you have to clean your diet up to do that. There are 12 foods that we've isolated as being really pretty bad for the overall human constitution, and you shouldn't even look at these foods, let alone eat them. And interestingly enough, and I do not think this is by coincidence, all of these foods are the foods that most people eat in the United States most of the time. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
No,
it would have been a coincidence if it was one or two.
Yeah, not all 12.
Not all 12.
No.
So there's funny business going on behind the scenes here where, you're being told to eat food that's going to make you sick. And then you do get sick. And then you have access to a type of medicine that doesn't cure it, that only manages it with pharmaceuticals that make you weaker and sicker over time. So you need more pharmaceuticals and more surgery. That's a fantastic business model. That's exactly what we have right here. So that's kind of the long and the short.
So type 2. So now someone has type 2, adult onset. Their body produces insulin. It's just not. So again, your recommendation for that, for some folks that have type 2.
So all of this is in the nutritional supplement packages that we offer. It's called the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack.
Okay.
Because you get all 90 essential nutrients.
Mm-hmm. In the foundation pack, right?
Extra omega-3s.
Right.
And extra chromium, plus some other botanicals that help your body metabolize sugar. Because with type 2 diabetes, also called insulin resistance syndrome or metabolic syndrome or syndrome X, the insulin binds to the cell wall, but the signal can't get through.
Right.
So the doors don't open, and the insulin piles up. And the insulin will pile up so much that it breaks through the wall of the cell. And that damages the cell.
That's right.
And that's no bueno. So, interestingly, for both of these conditions, it's the same thing. We do the same thing.
Right.
We do the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack. And that will help a type 1 diabetic to reduce the amount of insulin that they take. And it will also help type 2 diabetic to completely get on the other side of it. Completely get on the other side of it.
Pete, at the introduction, you also mentioned pre-diabetes. Educate our viewers what pre-diabetes is and what should you do about that particular condition.
So there's a blood value. It's called hemoglobin A1C, also called glycolated hemoglobin, but most laboratories now call it hemoglobin A1C. And hemoglobin A1C has a very small reference range. It's like from 5.1 to 5.7 or 5.8. It's a very small reference range.
Yeah, it's tight.
And hemoglobin A1C theoretically measures how well your body has been metabolizing sugar for the last 90 days. So if your hemoglobin A1C is near, from my point of view, if it's over 5.6, you have a problem. Medical doctors see it as a problem if it's over 5.8. And, in conventional medicine land, when things like hemoglobin A1C start to increase, or your blood pressure starts to increase, or your PSA starts to increase, it's going to keep increasing because, the conventional medical doctors don't know why this is happening. And they don't have cures for it or even attempt to cure it. They just manage it. And so it's inevitable that it's going to get worse, but not in naturopathic land. So this is what's considered pre-diabetes, when the hemoglobin A1C numbers are starting to creep up, right? And it's kind of like before the dam has burst, right? The water level's rising. It's only a matter of time. And in conventional medicine, the more progressive doctors with pre-diabetes, they don't understand the nutrient angle, that this is all driven by nutrient deficiency syndromes. So the only thing that they recommend is diet and exercise.
Right. Well, exercise more, cut down on your carbs.
Right.
And, well, you know, it might help. Let's just wait for it to go over 5.8, and then we're going to... Right. Okay. So someone comes to you, and 2 years ago, they were 5.1. And last year, they're 5.3. Yeah. And this year, they're 5.6.
They're going on the healthy blood sugar pack immediately.
Okay.
And the benefit to this...
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with the exercise thing and the diet thing.
Well, there is. There is something wrong with the exercise thing. And this is worth pointing out. Because what happens when you exercise? Your metabolism increases.
Right.
What happens when your metabolism increases? You burn through your nutrients.
So you right? Okay. No. But I mean, if you're going to treat like what you said with the sugar, the foundation pack and the supplements, it's okay to be exercising.
Then yes. So exercise with nutrition.
Yeah.
Is a giant benefit.
Right.
Exercise without nutrition.
No good.
No. It's only a matter of time until that.
You're going to bottom out. You're right. You're going to bottom out.
So yeah, so we're good with exercise, and actually, if you do get into an exercise regime, everything works better and everything works faster. 100% correct.
Well, and that's the other thing, Pete. A lot of people say, "Well, okay, if I'm going to do this nutrition thing, that's good because you know what? That means if I do this, that means I don't need to be going for my walks. I don't need to swim. I can sit on the couch and watch more TV." And that's not the reason, because I've heard this from people. That's not the reason to say, that's not the reason to become a couch potato. That I'm eating better. I'm taking my nutrients. No, it's a multifactorial approach to health and wellness.
100%. And the beauty of this is that it's like Pavlov's dog. When you do it, you feel better. Mm-hmm. You take the supplements, you feel better.
Right. Not
only does your numbers come down with your blood, but your energy stabilizes. Your mood stabilizes. Your sleep gets better.
That's right.
Right? Because we're not just paying attention to blood work here. No. We're paying attention to how you feel. And when your body starts going down that slippery slope with blood sugar problems, it affects everything, man. It affects your mood. It affects your concentration, your ability to think, your mentation. It affects your sex drive. It affects your sleep. It affects everything. And so when we intervene correctly and give your body a leg up so that it can actually start to fix itself, well, guess what? It starts to fix itself. And into the bargain, there's so many benefits that accrue from this. It's just everything gets better, and it's the gift that keeps on giving.
The video, the 12 Bad Foods, is free. It's on the website, OperationFreedomHealth.com. The products we've discussed, in full disclosure, purchase of the products on OperationFreedomHealth.com does benefit this platform so we can continue this series. The products are available, as well as other information, further information on the issues are available at OperationFreedomHealth.com. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Dr. Glidden has a website, drglidden.com, and he also has his books available not only at Amazon, but also at drglidden.com. Now, Pete, educate our listeners about drglidden.com.
There it is. So it's self-help health recovery. I've put together hundreds of hours of instructional videos which walk you through exactly what to do as a first blush, a first attempt to stimulate your body's ability to fix itself. Because even though this is counterintuitive, it's the truth that most people, in order to engage the healing process in their body, they don't need a private appointment with someone like me. A lot of people do, but most people don't. most people just need to know what to do. They need to know what foods to not eat and what nutritional supplements to take and how to do it and when to do it and why. And, you know, that's what I have endeavored to put on my website is self-help health recovery information, the intention of which is to get you ostensibly for the first time in your life into the game of healing.
Pete, I'd like to thank you for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. Folks, the information is available at OperationFreedomHealth.com. Products available there as well, and also the information in the books Dr. Glidden discussed are available at drglidden.com. Thank you, Pete, again, for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. Thank you, folks, for joining us today. Until next time, Dave Janis signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.